The Awakening. The HFY Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for nearly 4 millennia. Their dominion stretched across 12 galaxies, encompassing over 50,000 inhabited worlds. Their authority was absolute, their technology unmatched, and their military might unquestioned. The Empire's vast armadas of crystalline warships could annihilate entire solar systems within hours. Their network of quantum relays allowed them to project force anywhere in their domain almost instantaneously. Species that resisted were subjugated or eradicated. Those who submitted lived under the Empire's rule, paying tribute in resources and servitude. Supreme Admiral Vexera stood aboard the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, the flagship of the Imperial Armada. His 6 eyes scanned the holographic display, showing the Empire's latest acquisition. The Orion arm of a spiral galaxy the Empire had only recently begun to explore. The region had proven disappointingly barren of advanced civilizations. Most planets harbored only primitive life, barely worth the Empire's attention. Admiral, we've detected unusual energy signatures from the 3rd planet of this yellow star system, reported Sub-Commander Lysick, pointing to a small blue-green dot on the display. Vexera's facial ridges twitched with mild interest. Classification: Pre-FTL civilization, Admiral. They've achieved basic spaceflight limited to their own system, rudimentary nuclear technology, and global communications. Nothing remarkable. Add them to the registry. Mark them for standard contact protocol in the next cycle, Vexera said dismissively. The Empire had a methodical process for integrating new worlds. This one could wait. There is one anomaly. Admiral, Lysick continued, her tone cautious. Their computational systems are unusual, primitive yet strangely efficient in unexpected ways. Interesting, but hardly significant. We'll send a preliminary contact team, Class 3 integration protocol. Little did Vexera know that this decision would mark the beginning of the Empire's greatest miscalculation. On Earth, Dr. Elena Sharma stood before the United Nations Security Council, her heart pounding. The room was silent as the world leaders absorbed the information she had just presented. To summarize, she said, her voice steady despite her nervousness, the signals we detected 3 months ago are artificial in origin and definitely not from Earth. The craft that entered our solar system last week is alien, and based on our analysis, it appears to be a scout vessel for something much larger. The Secretary General leaned forward. And you're certain they've detected us? Yes, their scans have been thorough. They've mapped our entire planet, monitored our communications, and likely have a complete understanding of our technological capabilities, or what they can observe of them. What are you suggesting, Doctor? Asked the Russian representative. Elena took a deep breath. I suggest we activate the Lazarus Protocol. The room erupted in murmurs. The Lazarus Protocol had been established 50 years ago, after the discovery of the Messenger, an ancient alien craft that had crashed in the Gobi Desert containing warnings about the HFY Empire and incredible technological insights. For decades, nations had secretly collaborated to develop technologies based on these findings, hidden from public knowledge, and hopefully, from alien detection. The Messenger warned us this day would come, Elena continued. We've prepared for generations. If these are indeed the HFY, we can't show our hand too early, but we must be ready. After hours of debate, the decision was unanimous. Earth would present itself as a typical pre-FTL civilization, while secretly activating its hidden defenses and technologies. The Lazarus Protocol was initiated. The Imperial contact ship Dauntless Observer entered Earth's atmosphere on a clear day, landing on a designated area in neutral Switzerland. The world watched as the first official contact between humanity and alien life unfolded on international broadcasts. The HFY delegation, led by Ambassador Torok, was surprised by the orderly reception. Usually, pre-FTL civilizations responded with chaos or worship. These humans seemed unnaturally composed. We come as representatives of the HFY Galactic Empire, Torok announced through his translation device. Your world has been registered in our domain. We offer you the opportunity to join our grand civilization as a protectorate species. The human representatives listened politely as Toruk outlined what this meant. Earth would provide resources and acknowledge Azuri authority in exchange for limited access to some imperial technologies and protection. We thank you for your offer, responded the UN Secretary-General. We request time to consider this significant proposal and consult with our global population. Toruk seemed amused. Of course. You have one standard rotation of your planet to deliberate. The terms are non-negotiable, but we understand primitives require time to comprehend their good fortune. As the Azuri returned to their ship, General Wei Chen of the Chinese delegation whispered to Alina, "They have no idea, do they?" "No," she replied quietly. "And that's our only advantage." The next day, the Azuri were surprised when the humans requested a demonstration of imperial power to help convince our population of your superiority. Toruk readily agreed, ordering a display of force against an uninhabited island in the Pacific. The dauntless observer rose to low orbit and fired energy weapons that vaporized the small island instantly. Sensors across Earth recorded every detail of the weapon systems, shields, and energy signatures. "We trust this demonstration makes our position clear," Toruk said upon returning. "What is your answer?" The Secretary-General stood. "We have discussed your offer and must respectfully decline. Earth wishes to develop independently." The Azuri delegation was stunned. This had never happened in recent imperial history. "Perhaps you misunderstand," Toruk said coldly. "This is not a choice. It is an inevitability. We were merely extending the courtesy of peaceful integration." "We understand perfectly," replied the Secretary-General. "Our answer remains the same." Toruk's face hardened. "Then you choose subjugation by force. The Imperial Armada will arrive within 30 of your days. Prepare for conquest." With that, the Azuri returned to their ship and departed for orbit. As soon as the alien craft left atmosphere, Alina activated her secure communication device. "They've taken the bait. Initiate Phase 2. Across the planet, hidden facilities hummed to life. Beneath oceans, within mountains, and disguised as ordinary installations, Earth's true technological achievements began to emerge. Admiral Vexera was irritated by the report from the contact team. A primitive world refusing imperial integration was unusual but not concerning. Such resistance was always short-lived. "Prepare a standard subjugation force," he ordered. "Let's not waste resources on these humans." The Empire dispatched a modest fleet of 20 warships, still enough to conquer a dozen pre-FTL worlds. They arrived in the Sol system expecting minimal resistance. What they encountered instead would forever change the Empire's understanding of the word human. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, their sensors detected no significant defensive systems or space-based weapons. The primitive satellites and space stations posed no threat. "Begin standard orbital bombardment," commanded Fleet Captain Drevin. "Target their military installations first, then governmental centers." But as the Imperial ships moved into position, something unexpected happened. The Moon, Earth's innocuous natural satellite, suddenly emitted powerful energy readings. Before the Imperial fleet could react, sections of the lunar surface slid apart, revealing massive weapon emplacements. "Impossible," gasped Drevin as his tactical display erupted with warnings. Beams of concentrated energy erupted from the Moon, striking 3 Imperial warships simultaneously. The vessel's shields, unprepared for weapons of such caliber, failed almost instantly. The ships themselves followed moments later, breaking apart in spectacular explosions. "Full combat alert," Drevin shouted. "Where did these primitives get such technology?" The answer came in the form of additional surprises. What the Empire had dismissed as primitive satellites suddenly transformed, unfolding into advanced weapon platforms. From Earth's oceans rose massive vessels that had been hidden beneath the waves, their hulls composed of materials that had masked them from Imperial scans. The human counterattack was coordinated and devastating. They didn't fight like inexperienced primitives. Their tactics suggested centuries of space combat experience. They knew exactly where to hit the Imperial ships, precisely how to modulate their weapons to maximize damage against Azuri shields. In the Eternal Dominion, light years away, Admiral Vexera received the distress call from Captain Trevin. They knew we were coming. Their technology. It's impossible. They have gravitic weapons, phase shields. Admiral, they're not primitives. There, the transmission ended abruptly. Within 3 hours, the standard subjugation force had been decimated. Of the 20 Imperial warships sent to conquer Earth, only 2 damaged vessels managed to escape, limping back to Imperial space through emergency FTL jumps. Vexera stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. How could this happen? How could humans, a supposedly pre-FTL species, possess technology that rivaled the Empire's own? Admiral, Sub-Commander Lysic's voice was tense. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force, she stated calmly. Your invasion force has been neutralized. Let me be clear. Earth is not seeking conflict with the Azuri Empire, but we will defend ourselves with all necessary force. We recommend you reconsider your position regarding our world. As the transmission ended, Vexera's confusion turned to rage, then to a cold, calculating fury. These humans had deceived the Empire, had hidden their true capabilities, had dared to challenge Imperial might. Prepare the first Imperial fleet, he commanded. We will show these humans the full power of the Empire. Behind him, Sub-Commander Lysic studied the battle data with growing concern. Something wasn't right. The humans hadn't just defended themselves effectively. They had done so with technologies that seemed specifically designed to counter Imperial systems. It was almost as if, Admiral, she said hesitantly, I think we should investigate further before committing our forces. There's something strange about these humans. But Vexera was beyond caution. His pride demanded retribution. The full might of the Empire will crush this insignificant world. No species challenges the Azuri and survives. The Reckoning. The Imperial Palace on Azura Prime buzzed with unprecedented activity. In the 4,000-year history of the Empire, never had a pre-FTL civilization not only resisted but decisively defeated an Imperial force. Emperor Zexlar-VII had summoned the Imperial War Council, something that had not occurred in over 3 centuries. Explain this humiliation, the Emperor demanded, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Admiral Vexera knelt before his sovereign. An anomaly, your radiance. These humans concealed their true technological capabilities. They presented themselves as primitives while harboring advanced weapons and defenses. How is this possible? The Emperor asked. Our preliminary scans showed a typical developing world. High Scientist Mevik stepped forward. We've analyzed the battle data, your radiance. The human technology is unusual. It doesn't follow the standard developmental patterns we've observed in thousands of other species. Some aspects are indeed primitive, while others are surprisingly advanced. Most concerning is how effectively their systems countered our own. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Elaborate. Their weapons and shields appear specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Imperial technology, weaknesses we believed unknown to outsiders. It suggests either extraordinary convergent development or, Mevik hesitated. Or what? The Emperor pressed. Or they had prior knowledge of our systems. Silence fell over the council chamber. The implications were disturbing. Could they be using technology from one of the elder races? Asked the Emperor. The elder races, those mysterious civilizations that had vanished eons ago, leaving only fragments of their advanced technology scattered throughout the galaxies. Possible, Mevik admitted. But the application is unlike anything we've seen from elder artifacts. This technology feels tailored. Vexera saw his opportunity to regain favor. Whatever the source, these humans have challenged Imperial authority. They must be subjugated. I propose deploying the First Fleet in full force. The Emperor considered this. Proceed, Admiral. But I want these humans studied. If they possess knowledge of elder technology, it could be valuable to the Empire. Vexera bowed deeply. The First Fleet will depart immediately. Earth will be conquered within the month. On Earth, the victory against the Imperial subjugation force had been met with both celebration and grim preparation. Military leaders from around the world gathered in the massive underground complex beneath the Himalayas, Earth's hidden central command. Admiral Helena Chen addressed the assembled leaders. Our first engagement was successful, but make no mistake, we've only angered them. The Empire will return with a much larger force. General Okonkwo of the African Union nodded solemnly. The messenger's predictions were accurate. The Azuri responded exactly as anticipated. Our advantage of surprise is diminished, added Director Ivanov of Eurasian Defense. They now know we possess advanced technology, even if they don't understand its source. Dr. Elena Sharma projected a holographic display showing the expected approach vector of the Imperial fleet. According to the messenger's intelligence, the Empire typically responds to resistance with overwhelming force. We should expect at least 200 capital ships, possibly more. Can our defenses hold against such numbers? Asked President Rodriguez. Elena exchanged glances with Admiral Chen before responding. Our lunar defenses and orbital platforms performed above expectations, but they won't be enough against a full Imperial fleet. We need to implement the next phase of the Lazarus Protocol. The spear, General Wei Chen asked, his expression grave. Elena nodded. It's time. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility hidden from even most world governments, a team of scientists and engineers worked feverishly around a massive central chamber. Within this chamber floated a crystalline object unlike anything of human manufacture, a fragment of the messenger's technology that had taken decades to understand and replicate. Dr. Hikaru Tanaka, lead scientist of Project Spear, monitored the final calibrations. Quantum entanglement stable, gravitic compression at optimal levels. The spear is ready for deployment. Elena Sharma observed from the control room. And the carriers. The 12 carrier vessels are in position, confirmed Admiral Chen. Once deployed, the Empire won't know what hit them. Elena nodded, a heavy weight in her chest. What they were about to do would change the course of human history forever. Proceed with the operation. 2 weeks later, the Imperial First Fleet emerged from FTL at the edge of the Sol system. It was a force of terrifying power, 300 warships, including 5 dreadnoughts, each capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten slag. Admiral Vexera stood proudly on the command deck of the Eternal Dominion. Commence long-range scans. I want complete tactical assessment before we engage. The scans revealed significant changes since the first encounter. Earth had expanded its defenses, with more weapon platforms and vessels visible. Still, by Imperial standards, their force was meager compared to the armada Vexera had brought. They've improved their defenses, Admiral, reported the tactical officer, but nothing that can withstand our fleet. Vexera smiled coldly. Begin advance. Standard battle formation. All ships to full combat readiness. As the Imperial fleet moved into the system, Sub-Commander Lysick noticed something peculiar. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures at multiple points throughout the system. They appear to be small vessels, but the readings are inconsistent with typical propulsion systems. Dispatch scout ships to investigate. Vexera ordered, unconcerned. Maintain course for Earth. The scout ships never returned. Instead, alarm signals suddenly blared across the command deck. Multiple unknown vessels appearing throughout our formation, shouted the tactical officer. They're everywhere. Vexera watched in shock as his tactical display showed hundreds of small craft suddenly materializing amidst his fleet. Craft that hadn't been there seconds before and hadn't approached through normal space. "Impossible," he hissed. "Nothing can bypass our detection systems at such close range." But the impossible was happening. The human vessels, each no larger than an Imperial shuttle, had somehow appeared inside the defensive perimeter of the First Fleet, and they were emitting energy signatures unlike anything the Empire had encountered. "They're activating some kind of energy field," the tactical officer reported frantically. "It's affecting our ship systems." Throughout the Imperial fleet, ships began experiencing catastrophic failures. Shield generators overloaded. Weapons systems shut down. Navigation controls became unresponsive. The strange human vessels weren't firing conventional weapons. They were projecting fields that somehow disrupted the very technologies that powered the Imperial ships. "Emergency protocols. All ships withdraw and regroup." Vexra commanded, but his orders couldn't reach most of the fleet. Communications were failing across the board. On the main viewer, Vexra watched in horror as one of his dreadnoughts drifted helplessly, its massive form dark and powerless. A human vessel, one of their larger ships, approached the disabled dreadnought and extended what appeared to be boarding tubes. "They're boarding our vessels," Lysick said in disbelief. Similar scenes played out across the fleet. Imperial warships, the pride of the Empire, rendered impotent by technology that defied understanding. And the humans, far from being the cowering primitives they were expected to be, were systematically neutralizing and capturing the most powerful armada the Empire could field. Vexra's flagship was among the few vessels still functioning, protected by its more advanced systems, but even the Eternal Dominion was experiencing cascading failures. "Admiral," Lysick said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human command." The holographic display flickered, showing Admiral Helena Chen once more. Behind her stood other humans in what appeared to be a war room. "Admiral Vexra," she said, her voice level, "your fleet has been neutralized. Your ships are being secured by our boarding parties. I'm offering you a chance to surrender and prevent further loss of life." Vexra's facial ridges flushed with rage. "The Empire does not surrender to lesser beings. These lesser beings just disabled 300 of your most advanced warships without destroying a single one." Chen replied calmly. "The technology you're experiencing is something we call the Spear, a quantum disruption field specifically calibrated to Imperial systems." A cold feeling spread through Vexra as the implications became clear. "How could you possibly know our systems in such detail?" A different human stepped into view, Dr. Elena Sharma. "Because we were warned about you, Admiral. 50 years ago, we received a visitor, a damaged ship containing a lone survivor from a world your Empire destroyed centuries ago. We called it the Messenger. It contained detailed information about Imperial technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Everything we've built has been designed specifically to counter your forces." Vexra felt the deck shifting beneath him as the Eternal Dominion's artificial gravity began to fail. "Who?" he demanded. "Who betrayed the Empire?" Elena's expression remained neutral. "Not betrayal, Admiral. Survival. The Messenger was a Kirazat, one of the few who escaped when your Empire obliterated their civilization for refusing subjugation. They spent centuries developing technologies to counter yours, waiting for the right moment and the right allies. The Kirazat. Vexra knew the name from historical records, a stubborn species that had resisted Imperial rule 900 years ago. The Empire had made an example of them, destroying their homeworld and hunting down their colonies. It was thought none had survived. Your Empire has dominated through fear and superior technology," Chen continued. "But that advantage is gone now. The Spear technology is being provided to other worlds under Imperial control. Your conquest ends here." As if to emphasize her point, the lights on the command deck failed completely, leaving only emergency illumination. "You have 1 hour to surrender, Admiral," Chen said. "After that, we'll be forced to disable life support on your remaining operational vessels. The choice is yours." As the transmission ended, Vexra returned to Lysick. "Options," She met his gaze steadily. "Surrender, Admiral. We've lost this battle, and perhaps the war. These humans, they've done something no species has accomplished in 4,000 years. They've found the Empire's weakness." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Vexera gave the order he never thought possible: prepare surrender protocols. 3 months later, Elena Sharma stood on a balcony overlooking New Geneva, where representatives from 100 formerly subjugated worlds had gathered for the First Galactic Concord. The fall of the Azuri Empire had been swift once the spear technology spread to other worlds. Centuries of resentment had erupted into coordinated rebellion. The Emperor had been forced to sue for peace, accepting new boundaries that reduced imperial territory to a fraction of its former expanse. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Admiral Chen joined her at the railing. Elena nodded. "I never thought I'd see representatives from so many worlds on Earth." "The messenger would be proud," Chen said softly. "Their sacrifice wasn't in vain." Elena's thoughts turned to the alien craft and its lone occupant that had crashed on Earth 50 years ago, carrying the seeds of the Empire's defeat. "Do you think the Kirazat knew we would succeed where they couldn't?" "They must have seen something in us that gave them hope," Chen replied. "Something that made them think humans were the right allies in their long game against the Empire." Below them, delegates from dozens of species mingled in the Grand Plaza. Former enemies, now potential allies. Worlds that had never known freedom, now determining their own fate. "And what happens now?" Elena asked. "We've helped topple an empire. We've changed the course of galactic history before we even officially joined it." Chen smiled slightly. "Now comes the hard part, building something better in its place." She gestured to the gathering below. "But we won't be doing it alone." As twilight fell over New Geneva, lights began to illuminate the plaza. Representatives from worlds across the galaxies, some humanoid, others wildly different in form, stood together under Earth's sky. The impossible had happened. A pre-FTL civilization had brought down the greatest empire the galaxies had ever known, and humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning.